they like a naughty, tough boy, you know. You have to have something about you.
What is the actual job of a para?
But we would go after your well-known, and we would go out every night, or we're coming in with the Chinooks, fast roping in on top of roofs and stuff like this, you know. It's good stuff. It's take a tough man to pull the trigger. It's how you deal with it afterwards. That's easy. Anyone can do that.
Was there any times in particular when you literally could have died?
You're seeing your mates go down and other things are happening. That's an adrenaline, and that's a rush you're never going to replace. And the lack of help that we got when we got back. I turned into bloody Pablo Escobar and I just went off the rails. I was an addict, I was fighting, I was just a shit person. I want to be bare knuckle champion. I'm going to throw it out there, yeah, and I ain't going to stop. But it's too late for a lot of us. I probably lost 50 blokes through, you know, easy.
Would you recommend someone joining the army? So today we are joined by Adrian Engwell, ex-paratrooper. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for asking, bro.
Good.
I was excited about this podcast because obviously I know that you've got a mad story, mate, and I want to get straight into it. And what brings you to the point where you are, an ex-paratrooper?
So, I mean, do you want me to go back from the start?
All the way, bro, if you can.
Yeah. I was brought up in a town called East Grinstead. Had a good upbringing. Best mum and dad you could ask for. 2 beautiful sisters, and everything was good. But growing up, I felt, especially when I hit secondary school, I was always good at sport, always done well at sport, but I struggled academically. And, when I went to secondary school, I believe there's always sort of like 2 routes you can take. You know, you can either crack on, and when I started getting put into sets, and I was in the bottom sets, I decided to go down this sort of naughty route, and that's when it went wrong. I always believed I had mental issues. You know, there was something not quite right with me. I didn't feel like I fitted in, and I started doing drugs at an early age, and I loved it. You know, I'm not going to lie. I started smoking weed at an early age, and it took me away from who I was as a person, and it just progressed from there. I mean, I was still doing sports, and I got my black belt at the age of 12. Football, swimming, gymnastics. I was doing all them things, but when it came to school, I was just like but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a good laugh. Just got in with the wrong crowd, fighting, taking drugs. Bit of a lost cause. I put my family through a lot. And the one man that's always stood by me is my dad. And, he's like a god to me, my dad. And then when I left school, he said to me, I tried loads of different jobs, and I didn't, I wanted more out of life. I didn't want to just, and this is no offence to anyone, to any of the jobs out there, but I wanted to do more. I didn't want to just be, a bricklayer or anything like that, or into cars or anything like that. So, plus, I was just off the rails a little bit. It was either that or I was going to end up in prison. That's the sort of route I was taking. So my dad said, join the army. Now, again, I wanted it easy. I always wanted it easy. I wanted it sounded good, but I still wanted it easy. And he said, why don't you join the paras? So I had a look online. I thought, fuck that. I'm not doing that. That's hard. Hardest training there is within the infantry. And anyway, he convinced me. So I went up to Darlington, around this area-ish, and shit myself. I remember getting off the train and meeting some big hairy paratrooper, some man there, and the moment we took us to the barracks. In fact, I digress. Let me go back a little bit. As usual, I don't like using this, but I was bullied. I had a hard time in school because of my colour. I was like the darkest kid in the school at the time, Sackville School in East Grinstead. So I used to get your p***s and all this. And I used to have a group. There was a guy in my year. I won't mention his name, and we were like the toughest guys in the year, and he was always giving me a hard time. But he used to hang around with a lot of older kids as well. Anyway, for a couple of years, they were waiting outside schools for me. They were, they got hold of me at one stage. He was with a lot of these older, a few gypsies and that, and just give me a right hammering, Anyway, I remember one day my dad was just so frustrated, and I hope my dad doesn't mind me mentioning this story, because he was, at the time, I think he was a little bit ashamed, but I'm proud of him for this, because it made me the man I am today, to a certain degree, as well as everything else that went on in my life. One day I was uptown in East Grinstead, and this kid come up with all the older kids again, started on me. Anyway, my friend phoned my dad. Next thing you know, he's in his car, pulled up, get in. I had like all sovereign rings on, like back in the day, and your 2 double earrings, thinking I was cool. Take your jewellery off, he said in the car. It's like, all right. He said, now you're going to have this, and you're going to understand that when you get hurt, it's not as bad as the thinking behind it, because the thinking of violence is worse than the actual event itself. Take your jewellery off. He pulls outside, but it's outside this nightclub, and there was hundreds of people there. I'm only like 14, 15. But he was only there to stop the older kids from giving me a shoeing as well. But he just wanted to teach me and tell me that it's not as bad as what you think. Anyway, we had this scuffle, and that was it. I got in a car, and I was like, I love it. He was like, how do you feel? I was like, I love it. This is a bit of me, this. And that was my first introducer. So, any dopamine hit or any excitement, drugs or anything, I've started to realise the kind of things that I like. Mm-hmm. But later on, had become my downfall as well, up until now, with the life that I'm living now. So yeah, that was like, and then after that, it was scrapping all the time. So anyway, I moved forward to joining the Paras. Yeah, I remember being in the toilets crying to my mum, get me home, just scared the life out of me. I thought I was not big, but I thought I was tough in my little town, East Grinstead, and I wouldn't even say I had a reputation, but I thought I was the boy until I went up there, and I did get a rude awakening when I went up there. So I left, and when I came back, my mum was crying, not because she was happy for me to be back. She wanted me to go back. I think essentially they knew that it was for me. Mm-hmm. And I know the Parachute Regiment, they like a naughty, tough boy. You have to have something about you. You can't be some wafty, woke, little weak boy. You have to have something about you. And all the men that I've worked with certainly do. And, after a couple of months, I rejoined. I knew it was a big mistake, because I got back to the same things I was doing prior to me leaving.
Well, getting up to no good on the streets and all that.
Yeah, and I weren't going anywhere. I was on one path, and I had to change that. But luckily I had, and I know not many people do have this. I had the parents there to steer me in the right direction.
That training, when you're in the Paras, like you said, it's kind of the toughest in there.
Without a doubt.
What type of training is it? What do you actually have to do? You alright, people? Hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Here's a random one for you. Most of you who are actually watching this episode don't actually subscribe to it. So just do us a favour, will you? Can you click the like button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss another episode, hit subscribe, all that good stuff, because we go up and down the country to try and bring you the best show possible. We're not messing around here, so please show some love, will you?
So like your phase 1 and your phase 2, for the whole infantry is pretty much the same. The only difference with the Paras is we do a thing called P Company. So it's a week-long event, and there's a number of things in there that you've got to do, like a 20-miler, a bit of weight on your back, and it caught me off guard here. I think you've got 4 hours to do it in. The Marines do a similar thing. It's called yomping. I think they do a 30-miler, and I think they've got 8 hours to do it in. Paras is a lot more quick, sharp, and aggressive. We do like a stretcher race, 5 miles, I believe. Log race. You're carrying a big pole and there'll be like 6 of you on it, and it all has an aim to it. So like the stretcher's obviously carrying a casualty off the battleground, but I mean that thing I think weighs a ton, and that's for 5 miles. The logs are 2 miles. Ammunition, simulating carrying ammunition. Then you do a 10 miler. Then you do your milling. So you're literally standing toe to toe with someone for 1 minute. It's not boxing. There's no skill involved. It's controlled aggression, and you have it for 1 minute. You're punching each other in the face. Now, it ain't that bad. You're wearing big gloves and you've got air guard on, but boy, is it exciting. Again, these are all things that get me going, you know. Anything that made me nervous, I love.
Did you see lads crumble in there through that period?
What, through the training?
Yeah, you know, like even that, just them gloves on, just going, you know, just having at it with each other.
Not through the milling, because when you get to that stage, the guys you've got there, so they'll thin all the guys out that don't quite cut the mustard. So, for example, there was 74, 73 that joined my platoon, and it was only 12 original that passed.
What do you find that people drop out? Like, what is the hurdle when most people get thinned out?
Injuries.
Right, okay.
But then there's a lot of people that would say they've had an injury that...
Probably haven't had.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of injuries through mine, and like I said, 12 originals that passed. But you'll also get guys that have been back squadded. What I mean by back squad is they'll get an injury, but they want to get through it, so they'll crack on, and then they'll join a platoon prior. You know, so you'll get guys that have been in platoon ahead of you rejoining yours now that they're injury free. If you see what I mean. Yeah, I'll give you another example of. Sorry, I'm going back. Mm-hmm. I'll go off on a tangent because I want to remember everything. This is how much of a lunatic I was back in the day. You know, when at sports day when I was 15 years old, I took an ecstasy pill because I thought it would help me.
Hell, mate.
I came first. Yeah.
Of course you did.
But it didn't help me. You know, that was just a little. It just came into my mind then. Yeah, these are the sort of things I was getting up to.
What were your parents like when you were, you know, taking drugs and all that? Like, because obviously they were like you said, your dad's like a god to you.
Yeah.
Like, what were your parents like? Did they know the extent of what you were doing?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they grew up in their day. Back in their day, it was just drink. You know. They weren't. Dad always said to me, it wasn't. He knew that it went on, but I think like you and all that other stuff. It was for the rich back in the day, wasn't it? So, what were they like with me? They were fucking hell. They were at lockerheads. How do you deal with someone that because they haven't experienced it? So we were just, and because me and my dad are quite similar. You know, we've got a bit of a temper. You know, we can go, and boy, I mean, every week we used to go football. Right, he used to take me football, and we never used to speak after the football. Like we would just be, he'd be running the line, and I'll be round with him. The game will be going on. Fuck off, you fuck off. We'll just be having it on the. People don't know how to.
Have you got siblings as well?
Yeah, 2 sisters.
And
yeah.
what were they like? Were they lunatics and all?
No,
not.
My younger sister's more similar. I hope she doesn't mind me saying this to me. Alice, Holly, beautiful. She's just a lovely human being. Nothing like me. She's
I think you were a bit of a one-off.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely got my old man's traits, you know, but I think a little bit more loony on top of that as well. Yeah.
You mentioned like getting a bit of racial abuse, right?
Yeah.
Like in school and all that, and I mean, I can tell you look like you're definitely mixed race or something like that. Where are you actually from? What's your heritage?
Well, but both my parents are white, but obviously there's something there.
Yeah.
You know, my dad's tanned, my granddad was tanned.
Have you not had the question with your dad? Like where's our?
Yeah, and he's just like.
Does he not know either?
No, it's never.
Mad, that.
I know, and sometimes I would like to know, definitely. I mean, Engwell's my surname. We're all from Dagenham.
You never know, mate. Someone might watch this podcast who's got the same surname as you. And
yeah.
You know what I mean? You just never know.
Yeah.
I've seen things like this happen before where someone's online, they're like, actually,
yeah,
we had a granddad who had more kids.
Yeah.
That we didn't know about. Do you know, it does happen.
Yeah.
So it's unbelievable.
Your dad's Afghan.
So, you know, when you were in the paras, did you,
Yeah.
when you went through that training phase, you obviously had the bug for it.
Yeah.
You knew that was a bit of you, as you said.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that like, this is my career now? This is what I want?
Yeah, at one stage it was. But as I was a lunatic again, you know, like, so, you know, I won't, like I told you before we started, I'm not going to go into detail. Mm-hmm. There's other guys that you can watch on podcasts that have gone into detail. But I've done Northern Ireland, Iraq and Afghanistan. And I was still very insecure. And like I said to you before we started, the narrative of this podcast is I want to help, you know, men and women. You know, because mental awareness, and I know everyone jumps on this, but, you know, I still go through it to this day. I still have my ups and downs to this day. And excuse me for going off on a tangent again, but because I forget where I'm at. But every time, so like, you know, even doing the jumps course, you know, it's exciting, gets that dopamine hit, jumping out of the plane, going on exercise, even the training before I've even gone out to war. So you can imagine, you know, how do you replace that when you get back? No one's helping you. In fact, all they'd do is that you'd stop off in Cyprus at most. They'd put a couple of crates down and say, have a fight. You know, after the tours happen, have a fight, get it out of the way. And then that would be your help, if you like.
Have a fight, is that what they say?
Yeah. Have a fight between yourselves, and then when you know get all the anger out that you got for whatever you've seen and done. Not so much obviously Northern Ireland. We did the last tour of Northern Ireland One Para 2005, and during that time, I think towards the end I went out to Iraq. But yeah, when we come back from there, Cyprus, have a fight, but I carried on. You know, because my go-to setting or my coping mechanism for anything was to get off my head, because I'd done that from a young age. So it goes back to when I was getting put into sets at school, and I was in bottom sets, and I didn't like it, and I hated who I am, and I didn't feel like I fitted in. What did I do? I was introduced to, I like that. Oh, it took me to another dimension.
It's all these quick releases, isn't it?
All these quick releases. So I you know, I'm not ashamed to admit this. I became an addict very quick.
Do you, when you're in the army, did you notice that other people are like you, or were you a one-off in the army as well?
No, there was loads like me.
Was there?
Yeah,
so do you think that's kind of what you get? People like yourself all meeting together.
100%. There was those that weren't, that were, you know. But they still got a bug for it. You see, when you do these kind of things, when you go to Afghans or Iraqs and you're fast roping and parachuting, or, you know, you're on a two-way range and it's all going off and you're seeing your mates go down and other things are happening, you know, that's an adrenaline, and that's a rush you're never going to replace. And the lack of help that we got when we got back, you know, so I knew guys that were in there that weren't like me, that I'm actually, because I'm a qualified life coach now, that I'm actually helping now, that I never thought would struggle. But because they'd experienced them things, it changed their mind.
When you go to the likes of Afghan, Iraq, Northern Ireland, wherever it may be,
yeah,
as a para, are you fearful? Are you? Cause,
yeah.
See, the reason I ask you that is because obviously the type of lad who goes into that, I'm not saying you don't have fear, but you almost crave that adrenaline, you crave that what's going to happen next. So would you say it was fear or excitement you get? Or is it literally a mixture?
Both, yeah.
Is it?
Fear. I mean, it took me a long time to understand who I was as a person, but fear, because when you get through it, that rush, that dopamine hit, that adrenaline is the best feeling in the world.
Do you know many people who didn't get through it?
What, that didn't come back? Yeah. And I've actually, you know, lost more people through suicide.
Really?
Which is
after?
Yeah.
Would you say that's kind of because of being in the forces?
Yeah, and the lack of direction they get when they come out. What do? The lack of help in general, you know. The streets are flooded with drugs and drink, and there's so many quick releases, as you said, this is what the guys are doing, because there's no one to talk to. I think now the help's getting better now. But it's too late for a lot of us. I probably lost 50 blokes. you know, easy.
Is there any particular moments that, or things that you witnessed that you know is going to stick with you forever?
Yeah.
Can you talk about them?
I'd rather not, to be honest.
Would you?
Yeah, I know that's not something you want to hear on a podcast.
No, that's fine.
But listen, I don't want to be that guy that comes on here and acts, you know, pretends or talks like I'm Rambo. You know. But one thing I will say is even if everyone that went out to Iraq or Afghan, even if you didn't leave the main camps, yeah, they still seen and heard. You know, you don't have to. What I'm trying to say is, you don't have to pull in. This is my opinion. It doesn't take a tough man to pull the trigger. It's how you deal with it afterwards. That's easy. Anyone can do that. It's how you deal with it afterwards. And I'm not going to sit on here and say I've got 100 confirmed, because that's just not true. But I played my part. I've seen things, you know, and the people that I work with know as well. And yeah, it was an experience. But I tell you, so Afghan was my last tour. When I got back from there, that's when I really lost the plot a little bit, you know, because it was heavy in Afghan. 2009, there was a lot going on, and we lost a few men. There was a lot of men and women from other units losing their lives. There was a lot going on. I'm 26 years old. I've got issues anyway, which I can't quite understand. I'm still trying to work myself out. I come back from there, the biggest rush, the biggest adrenaline, because it becomes normal as well out there. Like the noises you're hearing, you know, we're going out every night on operations. We're doing some amazing things. I mean, it was amazing. But what do you do when you get back?
Because the reason I ask you, mate, and it's not, I never want you to. When people are on podcasts with myself, like, I want to make sure that they're comfortable. I don't want to necessarily make them relive experiences, but I understand, you know, I want people to understand that when they are joining the army or when they're going through a certain thing, whether you're a fighter, no matter what it is, if you're going to pursue a certain path, that, you know, I want people to understand the reality of this as well. You know, I mean, mate, you just said there, you know, 50 guys who you know have lost their lives to suicide. That's real shit. That's something that I think people need to know. They don't, of course, the intricacies of the details of what's happened in order for, you know, for that to be an outcome is for your mind and your mind only. I totally get that. But it is a platform that you can share that if you ever want to talk about it. Now, I just want to be open. You know, if you say, you know what, I want to fucking talk about this thing, feel free. Do you know what I mean? Because ultimately, what help would I be to anybody if I didn't let you voice that? Yeah. When you're in the scenario of, you know, you're out in Iraq or Afghan or wherever it may be, just for someone who doesn't understand, the listener or watcher, or even for my own curiosity, what is the actual job of a para? So what does it look like for you? What do you actually do?
Well, we changed roles. We worked SFSG. We changed our role slightly. We worked alongside the Special Forces, which is why I don't want to go into it too much. I mean, there's other guys that have spoken more in detail about it. But we would go after your well-known terrorists, and we would go out every night on night ops. We wouldn't be doing so much what the Green Army were doing, which was patrolling. The infantry units would be patrolling, attracting and drawing the enemy out, you know, and also that would be, you know, to gain intelligence. But what we did was we went out every night and we were after the bad guys, and most of the time, 9 times out of 10, we got them. SFSG, we were, you know, I was a team leader of a cordon, so we would have cordons out, and then you'd have the Special Forces going in to get the main guys, and then anyone that would be running in and out or trying to escape, we'd get them. But it would always kick off, because when you're going into these areas, they're manned, they're armed. 9 times out of 10, they either hear you. We're either walking in, or we're coming in with the Chinooks, fast roping in on top of roofs and stuff like this. You know, it's good stuff. And you know, 9 times out of 10, you were getting opened up on the route in, you know, on the way in. So it'd be kicking off straight away a lot of the time. You know, when you're in your 20s, you know, like I've been saying. But listen, there's guys that have lost their lives that haven't necessarily gone through as much as that, or don't even have to leave the main camps. You know, you can be in a camp and there'll be casualties coming in, and you're seeing things, or you're hearing about things, or your friend's just lost his lives, but you haven't actually done anything yourselves, and they've lost their lives. They're the ones that have been taken. So you don't have to have gone through a lot.
Yeah, but still, just being in and around it's enough, isn't it, to suffer with that stuff?
100%, and it's because people don't feel like. I mean, I've wanted to end it a number of times, you know, and I still struggle to this day, and that's why I'm doing this, because I want us all to start coming together and, you know, talking about it. You don't have to go into detail, but just tell us how you feel. And, you know, that's what led me down a path of doing a life coaching qualification, which I've got. And I do it for free for all veterans and currently serving. You know, I don't want nothing. And I'm helping about 4 or 5 guys at the moment, and it feels good because they're helping me as well.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
it's unbelievable, that, mate. It's unbelievable. We need more people like you to go out there and help these people, because there's so many people who, you know, even you, who to me seem like a very tough bloke, mental resilience, but even you've got your days where you're down and you feel like ending it all, and it's probably something that you live with forever, but it's how you, it's a bit like, you know, it's how you deal with what you've done. It's how you deal with them things. It's how you deal with your feelings, and understand that there could be other people who've never even experienced anything close to combat or army or anything like that. Yeah. But they've still got their own struggles. Do you know what I mean? So it's using someone like yourself as a bit of a, do you know what I mean? Like we need them people. We need that. We need someone to hold that torch for those people.
100%.
So I just want to say, like, I appreciate you actually telling this story for that as well, mate. Yeah. Is there anything, again, you can answer this how you will. Is there anything in your kind of career that you regret? Is there anything you live with, and is that why you get certain PTSD, if you like? Yeah, I mean, not so much on tour. I wasn't like, you get your course men, right? So when I done courses in the military, I was shit, you know. But when I went on tour, and it was real, you know, and I'm not going bang bang on an exercise. It's actually for real. I was in my element. I loved it, and I'm not trying to act the tough man, because, like you just said, I'm not tough. Far from it. I had to reach out to Venis last week because I was struggling. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. I still struggle to this day for little silly things. But when I was out there and the rounds were going down, and, you know, or even if they weren't and we were fast roping in, I mean, come on, 26 years old, fast roping with all these people that I'm looking at thinking, wow, you know, SAS, SBS, and even the friends that I work with, real men, and we're like a family, and there ain't a feeling like it.
If you don't know by now, I run a business called The Content PT. I create content for influencers, PTs, online coaches and fitness brands all around the world. So if you are someone who's in need for sexy content for your social media, or you really want to maintain a competitive edge in your industry, drop me a DM on Instagram.
On tour, no, because I like I said, I loved it. That's when I thought, this is what I'm all about. I love all this. You know, getting shot. I'll run at that. I'll have that. I'll have anything. I'll die for my country. I love my country.
Because that's what I was going to ask you. So when you're in there, right, I understand why you're in the army when you're in the army. I understand why you're fighting when you're fighting. I totally get it. But out of curiosity, what are you, I mean, I understand you're protecting the Queen and country and that stuff, but what are you made to believe?
Yeah, no, this is, I work in the Middle East now, right? Some of my best friends are in the Middle East, the locals. I'm not going to disclose where. Okay, it's a private security company. Before we were going to your Iraqs and your Afghans, the way I felt was they're all terrorists. Far from the truth. You know, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to work that out. There's good and there's bad people everywhere. You know, and you imagine if some army from another country come in here and they were starting patrolling the streets and, I don't know, like, shot your dad. Like, you're going to fight against...
Yeah, of course.
And that's what was happening. You know, it wasn't my job. My opinions on why we went there is irrelevant. I was just doing my job. But did I agree with it? Looking back now? Of course not. Look at Afghan now. We're gone. So, You know, I lost a few guys when they left Afghan that took their lives because they thought, well, what was that all that for then? And then obviously America pulled out, and it was all for nothing. Iraq, oil, I don't know. You make your own minds up. But at the time, like I said, that's irrelevant. That's my own opinions. Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one. And I was just there because I didn't quite know what I was doing in my life. I was enjoying this. I am patriotic. I do love my country. And I believed it at the time, you know. I still believe we helped in some shape or form with terrorist activity in the UK by being out there. You know, we were drawing attraction away from here at the time to us being out there. Yeah, a little bit to a certain degree. I don't know. I mean, but going back to your original question, because I am ashamed of doing drugs, especially, this is Parachute Regiment, very much frowned upon. You know, if they ever knew what I was up to when I wasn't in camp or when I was at home, I'd be disregarded. So for that alone, I apologise to the Parachute Regiment because that is something I'm ashamed of. Listen, I wasn't on drugs all the time, but I couldn't fulfil this. I don't know what it was. Just addicted to dopamine, addicted to... It was like I said to you before, I'd go back to that default setting of, if I felt lost, I'm going to take something, or I'm going to do something to take me away from who I am, because I wasn't happy with who I was. I couldn't sit with myself like I can today. I'm happy with who I am. I love who I am. You know, which is why I'm going in the direction that I'm going in now. And I accept who I am. I accept I can be a bit of a lunatic. I like that. It doesn't bother me. I accept that I'm not going to be the best at everything. When I was at school and I was getting put in bottom sets, I accept that I'm not the most intelligent guy, but I'll use my best attributes, and I'll also improve on things that I'm not confident at to get more confident. You know, you're reading, you're writing, you're all this, like the life coaching course petrified me. I hated courses, I hated exams. I'd run away from all that sort of stuff. I attack it now. But at the same time, I'm still missing that void, which is why I'm meeting your Paul Venis, your picks. I'm coming up here to spar. And next year I've got some exciting things to come. And that goes back to your question. Are you scared of all that? Yeah, that's why I'm doing it. Because I love it.
But you're heading it, like you're facing it head on, aren't you? That's
100%, yeah. You've got to run at these things. What's the worst can happen? You're only here once. We're passing through. Let's make the most of it. I never want to look back and go, I could have done that. Now, I'm too old for boxing. You know, I've got my black belt. I tried a little bit of boxing in one para and just got beaten up. Yeah, so I wasn't very good at in the paras, but I think, so the bare knuckle is something that I'm looking at now because I'm going to go for it.
Do you think you are how you are now, going into bare knuckle and this type of stuff? Do you think you are this way and the type of guy who would face things head on? Do you think that's how you are, or do you think it's the career? And you know what I mean, in the army, do you think that's...
I think it's how I am as well. I think I've always been this way.
And that's just kind of exposed your character a bit.
I think it heightened it.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, fuck, I love that. Because now I've done many substances in my time. Many. You know, psychedelic, all of it. And there ain't a drug that comes near being at war. Now, I know that sounds a bit... Yeah, but there ain't. When your life is in danger and you come out of it and you're laughing with your geezer, your mucker next to you, and you're laughing at the time, that was fun. Like, there ain't a feeling or drug that comes near it. It's impossible. I've done it. So when I came back from Afghan, I turned into bloody Pablo Escobar and I just went off the rails. Honestly, I just went fucking... I used to go missing. I used to have everyone looking for me. But that never came close to how I felt out there.
That's mad,
I was almost searching for that.
But it's a natural high, isn't it, as well?
Yeah,
that's why.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head there. And that's what I do different now.
Because you can chase the natural high with substances, but it's never going to compete yet. you know, what you're doing now, you're getting them natural highs. You're helping
Exactly.
people. You're going in a certain direction. You know what I mean? The things you're doing with training. You're training with some unbelievable lads. Obviously, Paul Venis, we've mentioned, unbelievable lad, and what a lad to train with.
Yeah.
If he can't inspire you, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I don't know who will. You know, a real lad from the streets who's done it and been about that. And it's the same as like when I look at someone like yourself. For me, as much as I can't help say it's weird because I'm not from that background, right? But when I look at someone like yourself who lived that life, it's inspiring for one, but it's, and again, not that I want to glamorize the scenarios you've been in, but it's the cool fucking thing in it. Like you've been roping onto roofs and fucking, like it's almost like a movie when you listen to your, like you've literally lived a movie.
Yeah.
You know, the whole scenario that you were in when you were landing on roofs, being on tour, all this type of stuff, and the kind of missions you on, if you like. I guess the whole thing's a close shave because you could always lose your life at any moment. Let's face it. Like you're always, you know, a second away from death.
Yeah.
Was there any times in particular when you literally could have died? That was the closest time.
Yeah.
What happened?
Just without going into too much detail, just, you know, like stepping over vehicle-borne IEDs. And the only reason why I know that was because when the Chinooks would come in, the rotors would turn up the sand, and then you'd see it. You'd be like, I just fucking stepped over that. Or, you know, being shot at, you can see it all going off, you can hear it come past your head and that.
Were you ever caught with a bullet or all like that?
No. I mean, listen, a lot of it is luck as well. You know, I'm not like Matrix, you know, I can't, there's no dodging that. So a lot of it was down to luck. When I first joined, you know, I went through training with a lad, Private Ellis, he went to 2 Para, you know, and I went through 6 months of training with him. He went to 2 Para, I went to 1. He went out to Iraq, lost his life straight away. So what I'm getting at here is at a young age, I'm having to deal with death, along with me and my friends. We're having to deal with that. I believe it should be taught at a young age, because it's all coming. You know, death is coming to us all. Trauma is coming to us all. So I think there should be things in place at schools.
I agree with that.
You know, to let, because it's coming, and I couldn't deal with it at a young age. And how do I deal with it? I'll get off my head.
Because that's the thing, like, and you're right, mate. Like, and I know it's horrible to say, but we're all going to lose our parents. We're all going to we could lose our kids.
Exactly.
We could lose brothers, sisters, spouses, whatever it is. Like, you're right, and it could happen to yourself. Like, it could be an illness, an ailment, or whatever it is. But it is that's one guarantee. No one's ever lived a life without it. So it's like, it's almost having something. What can you do to prepare yourself for that? Now, you've just chuck yourself in from a young age to prepare yourself, because you've saw people literally die in front of you and around you and all the rest of it. So if that's not showing you that life's finite, I don't know what is.
Exactly.
So with obviously you doing the tours and everything that you've done, and I don't want to keep talking about that per se, because I don't believe, although it was a big contribution to you as a person, I don't believe that's a make or break of you, because you're going on to things which are going to open up a whole world for you. I can tell you're a tough lad. You're training with some solid lads there. You're getting in the bare knuckle stuff now. What's the reason that you want to do this, the fighting stuff?
Because I think it's something I've always wanted to do, and I believe I found myself, you know. These last few years, I've gone through some other personal difficulties where I've got no home, I've got no money, I don't see my kids as much, you know, and it made me have to really look at myself, and it changed. I don't want to go, it's hard to sort of word it, but the last 4 years I've really changed the narrative, the direction that I'm going in. And I was forced to sort myself out, have a real good look in the mirror, and accept who I am. And not just accept it, love it, and understand what I enjoy. Because when I'm just sitting around, or if I do a normal job, it's not me. So I started following your Danny Christie's, your Paul Venis, your other influences out there that were quite similar to me. You know, a bit nutty, like to tear up, boom, 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 but also have changed their direction. I want a bit of that. And it all sort of happened at the same time. But I still know I need that excitement.
It's funny, you know what's funny when I look at you, I feel like a lot of people are going to know who you are. It's weird, really weird feeling.
Yeah.
Fucking weird. I'm going to say that on the pod. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
Really weird feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope I can relate, you know.
Because that's the thing,
I
though,
hope people
mate.
can relate, sorry.
Well, that is the thing, though. You've got, you know, like real, recognise real and all that. I understand when, mate, I've had people who've sat in the chair and unfortunately, you know, you find out that some people are not as real. You do find out that does happen. I mean, I can only do the research I can, but I don't script anything, as you know. Like I literally just have a chat out of my own curiosity, try and help the viewers and listeners. Want to try and put on a bit of a show, and I've totally fell in love with doing this more and more with every episode. And I always learn something new about myself. And what I learn is my ability to be, for one, self-aware and understand people very quickly. I get a judgment on them quick, not in a bad way, but I can kind of fish out the bullshitters. Yeah. And you can kind of go one or two ways. And when I look at someone like yourself, you've went through a mad life. You're trying to do something positive still. You're trying to instill that self-belief in other people while doing it for yourself, but also being an example by putting yourself back into combat. Like you said about, you know, you're based out. You're in Iraq still, aren't you? But you're not in the army now.
Yeah.
Why did you leave? What was that point when you were like, enough?
This lead. I mean, we go back a little bit as well. I went to military prison for 3 months. Now, before I joined the Paras, actually, I went to join the Navy. My granddad was a deep sea diver, and my dad, he was like the godfather of my family, my granddad, and my dad always, you know, spoke very highly of him. So I went to do that, but I failed the test. So Paras, they'll accept anything as long as you can read The Cat in the Hat or something. You can get in, right? And you've got something about you and you're fit. But he was always famous for doing the famous gun run in the Navy. So this will all marry up in a minute. Anyway, I figured out a way to fiddle a bit of money in the army, to say that I went away somewhere, because they changed the system in the army, right? And you had to do it yourself. So if you went away, you could exchange, you could claim expenses. Mm-hmm. Now, me, being a dick, being young, I stole a bit of money from the army, got caught, got 3 months in Colchester prison, military prison. But within Colchester prison, there's a chance to get out for 2 weeks to go and do the gun run. Right. And I've done it. And it was just a little bit of like, wow, maybe that was meant to happen. And listen, I do believe everything happens for a reason.
What was it like in there, though?
Oh, it was tough. And I'll tell you another funny story, because listen, I don't condone any of this, by the way, but I do look back and laugh. I've done some shitty things. I've not been always a good person, but you have to laugh at some of the things that you've done to get on with it, move forward. So there was like 8 men to a room, and no TV, 1 newspaper every week. And it was like being back in training, but worse. Mm-hmm. So I think it was harder than, from what I've heard, normal prisons are. Because these days you get your PlayStations, your TVs and all that, don't you? And your own room, or if you're bunking up with someone. Nah, not in military prison. Couple of stories, actually. And then you go back to wearing your basic shitty stuff in the army. There's a couple of stories. So one of them, we trained, so 2 and 3 para are based down there as well, in Colchester. And we went out running in the training area that they train in, right? So I'm running along. I'm in the prison gear, you know, the army prison gear. And 2 para, there's like a company of 2 para over there doing like a lesson in the field. And as I run past, so we would call all the other units crap hats. Your crap hats, right? So as I'm running past, I call them all crap hats. But I'm a para. they all started chasing me. So I was like, I'm having to take my top off and say, look, I'm a para. That was one of them. The other one, so there was 8 of us in a room. And listen, there's 8 lads in a room, like, and they're all from different units. There was a couple of Gurkhas in there. And I thought, I got all the lads to wear a gas mask, and we're all naked, and we're all running about, just joking around. I decided to teabag a little Gurkha. He was going to sleep, so I teabagged him, just messing about, and he pressed the panic button. So this is just the beginning. So they all come in with their gear on, put me in segregation for like a couple of days, which, you know, you've probably had people on the podcast that have been in segregation for years or months. Let me tell you, a couple of days I was in there, I was going insane. Anyway, the funniest part about it is I got marched over, so I got court-martialed for it. I had to go to court, and I got marched over to 2 and 3 barracks to get extra time, right? So I'm in the court, and there's like officers and paras and all that in there. Yeah.
I'm just laughing at you fucking teabagging.
Teabagging, yeah.
Can I just ask, sorry to interrupt, but are they like serious, or the like joke? Like I know they're serious, but like are they like, oh yeah, it was a fucking laugh on it? Like
no, what, when I went over there?
No, when you teabag the lad, like I was like, no, that's fucking, you can't be doing it. Or do they like, whoever's in charge, they kind of get it? It's a bit of a laugh.
They kind of get it, but they have to act on it.
Yeah.
Because he obviously was like, this isn't... And
was he seriously offended? I mean, you're going to be, if someone fucking teabags, you're going to be pissed off, aren't you? But
Gurkhas, it's different cultures.
I get that.
He didn't appreciate that, and I understand that now, looking back, you know. It was a stupid thing to do. But when I got marched over, so there's a massive courtroom, generals, officers, and everyone sitting there. I got asked to reenact what I'd done, right?
Shut up, man.
Yeah. So I was like, I got up, and we were all wearing gas masks. But as I'm telling the story, I can see all the officers trying not to laugh, and I just think, fucking hell. So I had a bit of a name for myself when I got back to 1 para. You know, I got an extra 2 weeks for that. But again, I feel like everything I've done, I've had to learn the hard way. And I don't have any regrets, you know, because this is where I'm at now. And where I'm at now is I've met, you know, the love of my life. I've gone out there and I've met her. I'm surrounding myself with a good tribe, good people, not people that are going to stab me in the back, you know. I don't take drugs. I don't drink. I train. And I'm in a good place, and I'm helping people, and it feels good. But I'm still fulfilling that void, that dopamine that I need, and I need it daily.
You know when you said you reached out to Venis a few weeks ago when it wasn't looking great for you, or you felt a bit low?
Yeah, I reached out to him last week.
What were you experiencing?
Just massive depression. And I felt like I was going to do something silly.
Right, because again, like, the reason I asked this, I lost my best mate to air suicide when we were young, and I mean we were only 20 at the time. I'm 34 now, so obviously as the years go on, you start meeting more people who've dealt with this type of stuff and all that. What does true depression actually feel like?
Oh, it's horrible.
Like, you know, when you feel like I'm going to do something stupid, what does it feel like?
You don't even get out of bed. You don't want to talk to anyone. You just don't want to be here. It's horrible. It's horrible, and only you can get yourself out of it. You know, you can talk to as many people as you know. You've got to reach out. You know, I know what I've got to do, and that's why I reached out to Paul straight away. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'm so happy, because I knew if I didn't, it could be a matter of minutes before I'm on the phone, I'm doing something stupid, I'm off on a bender, which I haven't done for a long time. You know, so it's people like Paul that have taught me that, and obviously doing the life coaching course.
Do you still speak to your parents?
Yeah.
What's your dad like about how you are and all the mental health and all that?
He struggled, you know, I've put him through so much. My mum and my dad. And listen, my dad's been the only one. Because they, you know, it was that bad at one stage. My family gave up on me. Mm-hmm. You know, let him do what he wants. He never gave up. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try not to get emotional, but he never gave up. Mm-hmm. And I was a lost cause. 1,000,000%. I was an addict. I was fighting. I was just a shit person. But he always believed in me. Always. Now, he's at an age where he doesn't get himself involved. He knows who I am. He knows I've come a long way. He knows what I've been through. But he's sort of chilled out the older he's got as well. And he just distances himself from me. He doesn't get as much involved. So, yeah, he's just... I've never, ever experienced a man like it. Devotes his life to me and my sisters. Devoted his life to me and neglected his own life for us. And I know essentially that's what all parents do, but they don't, do they? You know, there's a man that does. To the point where he's currently looking after my daughter now, and she lives with him. And they're meant to be retired, you know, so... Yeah, he's an inspiration to me, and if I can be anything half the man he is, then I'll be happy.
I'm sure you're on your way to becoming that, mate, because again, all the people that you're going to be helping along the way, indirectly, even your story, I know this will help someone. I know it will. I know it will.
Yeah.
I already know that.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it's like, even just understand, like, if I can give you any advice, get on as many podcasts as you can. Tell your story to as many people as you can.
Yeah.
Because there's a world out there of struggling people.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well.
There really is. I think I'm on a daily basis, I would say I meet more people who struggle than don't.
Really?
Which is fucking sad, isn't it?
It's crazy.
If you go out of here now and you go downstairs, you go across that car park, and if you were to just get a random sample of people and you said, are you truly happy right now? I can guarantee the majority would say no.
Yeah, I believe that. You can see it in their face.
I know, that's the thing. And
Yeah.
this is the sad thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some people have got to experience the rock bottom in the one or two ways at that point.
Yeah, that's
normally negative, but if there can be someone like you and say, right, every time, because even the fact that you're battling things, even, you know, them demons are still there, they're creeping up, but you're still batting them off, and reaching out to help. Someone might just reach out to you for help.
Yeah.
So the more people can get you to help, even better, because you've done it, and you're currently dealing with it as well.
Yeah.
While we don't want to burden you because you've got your own things going on, you still understand that you've got a duty. Like, you should help people.
Yeah.
You've been through it more than a lot of people, so why wouldn't you?
Listen, I believe in law of attraction to help people, and it will come back in other ways to repay you. You know, we're only passing through. Help them. Don't leave them. Don't be selfish. Put yourself out there and help people. People need it, and they'll always remember it. Open the doors. Help women. Help anyone. Feels good. Sometimes it can feel like it's a selfish act.
Because it's that good.
Yeah, because you think, am I doing this for me or you? Both. Do it.
As long as you're helping, it doesn't matter, does it? Like,
No.
whether it's selfish or not, if you can help someone, you know what I mean? If they can benefit from your help, then you're doing a good thing, right? And I actually said that to Danny Christie.
Yeah.
I said, you know, if you can just do things with a good heart and the right intentions, doesn't matter.
Exactly.
As long as you do that, doesn't matter.
Exactly.
That's what I always say. It's the same as when I'm doing these. Like, I know that I want to try and provide value to someone and just put something in the world that's going to do something good. And I feel good about that.
Yeah.
So if someone can be helped, great. If they can't, it might provide entertainment for them.
Exactly.
Or something.
And I believe doing that sort of things, other doors open up.
100%,
I'm sure
mate.
you've experienced that.
100%.
You know, since I've turned my life around, there's these little doors. Paul Venis.
Yeah.
I've reached out to Danny Christie. I've been speaking to him. You know, these things are starting to happen for me that I wished happened years ago, but I was shutting everyone off.
Yeah, but you needed to go through what you went through to get them doors open now.
100%.
Because then you understand that more. You're in a better position. I just want to talk about your kind of future. I know that obviously you're getting the fighting scene and you're training for something for next year.
Yeah.
What do you want now?
I want to be bare knuckle champion. I'm going to throw it out there. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, I want it. And I ain't going to stop. I'm not stopping.
So when's your fight?
Because I like pain. I like all that. Now, I know I'll probably say all this and get knocked out in the first round. I still don't care. My first fight, I'll come back. Because you can't beat me. Not in that game.
See, this is what I love. That puts fucking hairs on my neck when you say that. Because I believe you.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not here to take part.
Is it? Why do you want to be champion?
Because I need it. I want it. I've always wanted it. I'm not here to just take part. I'm here to go the full way. that's why I travel all the way up to train with your Mark Downings, your Paul Venises. I want the best.
How much of it would you say is ego versus you need it for yourself?
A bit of both, I suppose. Yeah, you know, see, my ego's driven me my whole life, which sometimes can be shit. You know, you need to control your ego. I believe I'm at an age now where I can control that. But all the pain and suffering I've been through, I know will get me that belt.
Because how much, you know, when you know, on tour and the things that you've done, how much of your ego is inflated when you are that guy jumping out of planes?
I don't know, you know, the paras, like, they smash you down, you know. Like, my nickname was Mag Charger.
Was it really?
Yeah, and I don't know if you know, but it's a black tool that you put your bullets in and the bullets go in quicker. Like, and it wasn't racist, listen, and I wouldn't even say it was bullying, it was character building. Because nothing gets to me now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking like this on a podcast. So, but yeah, Mag Charger and other names, and your ego you get smashed down, but when it comes down to it, you come alive. But yeah, there's a lot of big egos in the paras. There's a lot of real tough men. So if you think you're tough and you're going in there, think again, because you're going to have a rude awakening when you get in.
So I know you still work out in Iraq, don't you? We don't have to talk about what you do now because I think it's private, isn't it? What
Private
you do
security, yeah.
So with the fighting stuff, so you want to have a fight next year?
I want to have a fight next year, and then I want to be in the BKFC, by next year, Yeah, I'm going to,
You're going to do it?
Yeah. Which is why, you know, I want to that's why I've been in touch with your Paul Venises, and I believe they can steer me in the right direction, and I'll be getting there. And essentially, my end goal is this. I've done a life coaching course now. I'm qualified life coach. I want to get the accolades in the fighting industry through the bare knuckle, because I'm too old for the boxing now, realistically. So bare knuckle, and it's big now, as you know. You've interviewed a few bare knuckle fighters now. So I want to be champion in that, and then I want to get a gym, and I want to come home, because I've got 4 beautiful kids, and I need to come home now, because I do struggle being away.
How long are you away for at a time?
Most contracts are an 8 and 4 rotation. I've got a 6 and 6 rotation now, which is one of the best. You know, it's a good rotation. So essentially, I'm semi-retired. But again, I'm out there and there's stuff going on. You know, not much, but there is little bits and bobs going on. So when I come back, everyone goes, "Oh, I'd love 6 weeks off." What the fuck do I do? So a lot of the time, before within this industry, of me being in this industry 14 years, I've come back and just got off my nut, because I can't cope with just sitting there. I've gone from 7 days a week, being not in a war zone, but in a place where it's vulnerable and there's stuff going on, to then being here. So I'm more uncomfortable here, and I'm comfortable out there. I'm comfortable in the mayhem.
I mean, do you know why I understand that? I akin that to business, because the podcast is a hobby for me. I've got a business which is it's grown every year. You know, I'm very grateful. But what I do know is that sometimes it gets too hectic.
Yeah.
I've definitely burnt the candle at both ends a number of times now, and I burn out a lot. And
Yeah.
I'm doing over 1,000 miles a week, and I'm working a lot, and I've got a daughter and stuff as well. And it's like, it does get the point where you know, definitely a bit of a workaholic, as in I struggle to turn jobs down.
Yeah.
Always been the same since I was a kid. If there's a way I can make money, I will.
Yeah.
I've always been that way. But as I've kind of got older, you've kind of got to understand, like, look, the comfort isn't just the things that work brings. The comfort is the fucking time you have.
Yeah.
Ultimately, because it is a finite thing.
Yeah.
You've got to understand, actually, when you start to try and draw a bit of that comfort in time, I actually start getting more paranoid. But I know I need it. So, as what you said there, I need the chaos of business.
Yeah.
I need it.
Yeah.
Because if I've got a day off, I'm like, even on a day off, I'm like, fucking hell, like, I need something.
Yeah.
Laptop, I send a DM.
Phone. Yeah.
I've got to do something.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't have a day wasted. It's weird. Although you're not wasting it by enjoying your day.
Exactly.
Being bored is good.
Yes.
But I struggle with that badly.
And I think a lot of us do, you know. Because
Weird, isn't it?
you look, you go out these days, everyone's on their phone.
Yeah.
You go out to a restaurant and you see couples there just sitting there on their phone. They're not even talking. We've lost how to communicate.
100%, mate.
We've lost how to just sit with ourselves and do nothing. Let me tell you something that has taught me, being out there has taught me that, because essentially I'm in a hotel. So when there's nothing going on, I have to sit there. Now that's hard mentally. And the guys that I work with and the guys that work for my company and all the other private security companies will understand this. It is hard because you're on your own. You've got your own thoughts. Some places have bars, you know. You can get other stuff there if you want, you know. And it's difficult because you haven't got your loved ones around you. You haven't got anything else or anyone around you. And you only need, like, if you're a little bit insecure like I have been, if your missus says, I'm going out for the night, you imagine what you yeah, you
Can only imagine.
and then you don't hear from her.
It's like being in prison in a way.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Or something happens to one of your kids, you're 4,000 miles away.
I want to ask you one final question.
Yeah.
Would you recommend someone joining the army?
Now? No.
Why?
Because it's a difficult one to answer. I don't believe the country's got your best interests. Obviously not. I mean, it's not like the First or Second World War, where there was a real reason. You know, you're fighting for your country. Also, there is no army left. They've had that many cutbacks. Navy, RAF. Choose a different path. And think of yourself and your family. Because when you leave, you find out you're just a number. You're a bum on a seat. That's my personal opinion. A lot of people might hate me for saying that, but essentially we all are in life anyway, I think, aren't we? Which is why we need to live in the present. Be happy and help anyone you can. Because we're not here for long.
Brother, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you, Ed.
Means the world, bro.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, mate. Cheers, bro.
bud.
So you've made it to the end of this one. You're brave. But if you like this episode and you want to see more like this, click here and watch it.